Greetings, Cayman. I come to you to provide a recap of the first meeting of the 2026-2027 parliamentary session, which is now concluded. It was a fantastic session. It started with a throne speech, as tradition would have it for Parliament, that was then delivered by Her Excellency Jane Owen. The opposition, per tradition, is invited to provide a response, and then other ministers can comment and any member can comment, and per tradition, the Premier gets the right of reply. After that, we laid a number of reports of key agencies to show their activities that are now public information. We had one government bill, the Status of Children Amendment Bill, and that passed without major debate. And then we had a range of motions from the opposition. I thought I would pause here to explain a motion. A motion is essentially a proposal. It's a proposal for the government to consider either to implement, or after study decide not to implement, or perhaps implement but in a different way that the motion had suggested. It is not law and it's not in effect. And in this case, we had a number of motions that had good ideas, some of which were taken up for further discussion and consideration, and others were not. And as we go over the motions, there was one on advancing the implementation of a Residency and Tenancy Act. The government rejected that motion on the basis that the Housing Minister, the Honorable J. Ebanks, is already working on that, so there was no point accepting a proposal that's already being worked on. There was also a motion to ensure fair compensation and statutory timelines for compulsory land acquisition. This has been a long-standing vexing issue in which the planning minister is well aware of and was able to advise our side of the government to accept the motion because it's a matter that he's acutely aware of and was looking to rectify anyway. So it made sense to accept it with some of the proposals that within that motion that came from the opposition. There was a motion to establish a tourism climate resiliency fund that was rejected by the government on the basis that the Minister for Sustainability and Climate Resiliency will be working on an overall umbrella climate resiliency fund, and a portfolio of that fund can help with tourism activities and tourism matters. There was a motion to enhance participation of small and micro businesses in public procurement. The government is already reviewing the Procurement Act and its legislation and is happy to incorporate within that how small and micro businesses can better participate in public procurement. So we're happy to accept that motion. There was a motion to strengthen the oversight, consumer protection of Caymanian participation in quantity surveying and valuation profession. It was a very good motion. We always are looking forward as the NCFC government to see how we can increase Caymanian participation across business sectors, and this was a very, very good motion and accepted by the government for further consideration. There's a motion to protect and prioritize Caymanian participation in the real estate sector. This motion complements an existing NCFC initiative whereby we are amending the Local Company Control Act to ensure that there's a moratorium of certain sectors, including one which is real estate, where we now see that there can be Caymanian participation and you no longer need foreign investment by and large. So that motion complements that legislative effort, and we were happy to accept the motion. There was also a motion to establish a public holiday on the second Monday of October, a National Day of Wellness. We were happy to accept the motion to at least consider it. There are pros in terms of having the country focus on wellness for one day. And then you also have to balance the economic argument of the cost of doing business in Cayman when the country shuts down for a day. It was at least worthy of consideration, and we will take it forward, review it, and then report back to the House. There was a motion to amend the financial assistance regulations regarding household income thresholds, which is essentially a calculation for welfare. This motion was rejected on the basis that the Social Development Minister, the Honorable Isaac Rankin, is already studying this legislation in this area and other areas, so there's no need to accept something that's already being worked on. And there was also the motion to increase personal duty waiver for returning residents from 500 to 800. We were happy to accept this motion as a cost of living measure, and at certain periods we will plan to implement it up to $1,000. We are mindful of the fact that that will assist those who travel, but at the same time, it does provide at least one cost of living measure. That doesn't mean that we won't think of the other side of the equation when we bring back the motion for those who don't travel as much or at all. So with that, Cayman, I think it was a good first meeting of the 26-27 session. The next anticipated meeting will be in the month of September, and then we plan to have an additional meeting in November. I expect it to be a busy period. For my part, I know for Financial Services and Commerce, as we prepare for the FATF fifth round, that will have a range of legislative members as we prepare for that assessment, and other ministers in their areas will also be preparing to have a very strong finish to 2026 with a lot of activity. So thank you very much. Thanks for tuning in, and we encourage all of our citizens as much as possible to tune in Parliament either live or a recorded session afterwards, or key snippets that come in for the news, because what happens in Parliament affects all of your lives as residents of the Cayman Islands, and it's all the people's business. Thank you very much, and God bless.